Pat Duffy's video part in Questionable, it split everyone down the middle. Half of the people that watched it were like, I'll never be able to do that. I'm gonna go do something else. Skateboarding's not for me. And the other half were like, all right, it's time to step it up.
That's so funny, man. Ben Schroeder one time told me, he was like, yeah, when your part came out, we all knew we were That was my favorite type of skating. It was like a do or die situation. I loved the rush. When you survive, you kind of want more all the time. What I enjoyed the most was rolling away from something that was gnarly. So that's where my skating was at the point. I don't even remember the question, honestly.
Pat Duffy, Questionable. A video part that ushered in a completely new era of skateboarding. After its premiere in 1992, street skating would never be the same. Let's go back.
I am now fulfilled.
Whenever you're ready.
I didn't like that one. Primus.
Okay, it's my job to film it. How many backs of lift slides did you do in the rain today?
2. Should have done 3. Wussed out. Pretty much a pussy.
Only for the video. For the viewing audience?
No, dude, I did it for me. My own. Just so that I could have the satisfaction of doing it.
Pat Duffy is a pioneer in the true sense of the word. Like, what he was doing, no other human being on the earth had experienced. He was the test dummy. What happens if you try something like this? Will you live? Will you die?
Most important part for me was Pat Duffy Questionable. I couldn't even understand it. That's the only time that's ever happened to me in my life where I didn't understand what I was watching.
You can't even like really relate it to anything in current times because it just didn't exist before. This guy was somehow doing something that didn't make sense to anybody else on the planet.
I don't know if he knew whether it would work or not. Being first in flight and not sure if it's going to work.
That part specifically, to me, was the biggest leap ever taken in progression in one part. He just flipped skating on its head. Like everything we thought we knew, we no longer knew to be true. Pat was like, no, you guys know nothing. This is what it is.
Literally, it was as if there was a color that you never saw before. There's like before you saw that color and then after you saw that color. And then after that, you would look at a spot and go, well, maybe someone could do that. Pat Duffy's part is the line in the sand about what modern street skating can be. It was just fucking mind-melting.
People got to remember, that was his sponsoring tape. Most of that footage was his sponsoring tape.
Go to the big one.
Let me give you the theory of Pat, dude. Pat is actually a Terminator. See, Pat's a Terminator. He was supposed to kill someone, and he came from the future, but then his program malfunctioned. And so now he's invincible, dude, and he can fall on his face and it won't hurt him. Pat's crazy, dude. That's all there is to it.
Scene 1, take 1. My name is Patrick Martin Duffy. They call me Pat Duffy or Duffman or fucking Yo Duffy. It's like so weird to me. I was just having fun and doing what I love to do, and skateboarding was my life. My day-to-day was just like keep trying to grind stuff longer and bigger and like let's just go skate, see what we got, and put it together. I had not a clue that we'd be talking about it 30 years later. Early 90s were a very tech era. The ledge moves from Hocus Pocus that they were doing stationary were now being done like grinding. You know, crooked grinds were a new thing. Maybe the impact of my part was because I was kind of going in a different direction. I was kind of doing something that was a little bit different. I do remember being at the premiere and freaking out, pouring sweat and being so nervous, like, oh God, just get me out of here. It was a relief that the room was screaming and it wasn't crickets.
It was fucked up at the premiere. And that eruption, you like literally heard everything change.
It was absolute, utter mayhem, walls shaking, ground quaking, people losing it because everything they thought they knew about skateboarding had just changed right in front of their eyes.
I was a skateboarder. I was born in frontside grind. My video part you would rewind.
I sent my footage to Jamie Thomas over at Zero. He promised me I'd be the next street skating hero.
It started like a whole new genre, I guess, of skating. All of a sudden, you know, the giant rail at Subway is now like a skate spot or something. Like nobody even thought of that before, you know? Leading up to now where you can't even find a kink rail big enough.
I was born in '96, so Questionable came out before I was born. Watching it back now, like I've seen it and just been like, dude, no way, this was happening before, like I said, like before I was born, 4 years prior.
He broke the barrier for us to like, be like, wow, that's possible.
I think he really paved the way for skaters to be hitting stuff like that. And then after him, you had guys like Muska and Rowley, Jamie Thomas, and everyone else kind of following the path.
If I had a little part in that, I'm stoked that, you know, maybe the Muska saw it and was like, fuck yeah, I want to take it to something bigger. And Jamie Thomas was like, well, let's go bigger, you know what I mean? If I had a little hand in that, I'm fucking super stoked.
Pat Duffy was a pioneer, and his entire Questionable video part was nothing short of revolutionary. But today, we're gonna focus on 3 tricks in particular that blew minds and flipped the entire skateboarding world on its head.
My name is Jacob Rosenberg and I'm a filmmaker. In very simple terms, I was a full-time filmer for Questionable.
You know, the stories at San Pasqual are crazy, like Sheffey, Hensley, and Duffy, and no one's ever skated with Pat. First of all, there's 2 details here. The first detail is look how fucking cool he looks when he lands this. That's the other fucking best detail right there is Mike's cell phone just sitting on his foot.
I was actually trying to get the whole thing, but I ended up coming off early and being like, whatever, that was like... But the scariest one, we were looking at that one in the front, the 20 in the front of San Pasqual, and I remember I kept telling him that I usually don't want to do a rail unless I can ollie the stairs, but I'm now going to ollie those stairs, you know?
It had an ad by itself, and Pat wasn't even in the ad. And you looked at it and you went, somebody must have done that. That's how gnarly that 50-50 was. It's like vertical down, 20, 25 stairs. That was a game changer. 10 years ahead, 15 years ahead of everything.
When that happened, like Matt Hensley was there. I was like, my all-time childhood idol, Hensley, was there. And I'm like, you know what, let's just do this.
All right, bro, is that gonna go in the slam? I'm scared to walk that way.
Yes! Fuck, dude, you are so gnarly.
I've always wanted to ask Matt about this detail. Matt's like shaking his head like, this is fucking crazy.
I mean, if we're talking 50-50s on a rail, the one that he did at the end of his Questionable video part, and he had 3 in there that were monumental in the same part. But the one that stands out the most is the one down the double kink, because it was a round rail, and the way that hallway goes, you have to come in like 90 degrees. So you have to do like a frontside 90 ollie onto it. Everything about that just seemed impossible at the time it came out, because no one else could do that.
Pat Duffy's 50-50 and Questionable was like, it blew my mind. I was just like, that's not real. There's gotta be plywood behind the rail that we can't see. Because I'd never seen a long grind like that, much less a double kink. It could have been a straight rail and it would have been like a world record in my mind.
Again, something that you didn't think was real, that you could balance on a rail like that at that time. It just didn't make any sense as nobody was doing it.
And people didn't really step to what he was doing for like years and years after. It took a while for anybody else to really conceive of the idea that they could maybe stand on a rail like that as well.
We had this flat bar growing up because we were skating this school when we were real young, about 14 or 15. My friend Darius that I had grown up with was like in the sand and he's like, hey, this thing comes out of the sand, look. And it was a metal balance beam and we were like, what the fuck? We will be back at 2 a.m. tonight to get this piece of art right here. We're gonna take this. And so I learned every single thing on that flat bar. Well, the 50-50 on the kink, that was just random. I was out with Oscar Jordan and Jordan Richter, and Dave Sloshbach was driving us around. That was at the end of the day, because we were all like, we're hungry. And Sloshbach was like, I just want to show you this thing. That's it. Just look. Just look. And we just stopped there at the end of the day. I was just trying just to see if it was possible that I could, okay, I can get on. Okay, we're getting a little further. And then it wasn't till the hour and a half in that I was like, I'm not leaving until this is done, because now I know. I was gonna go until it was dark, or like, you know, I was fucking hurt or I couldn't go anymore. It seems like people want like this incredible story that you have in your head, and you're like, it just wasn't. It's just like it was just happened.
That to me like changed skateboarding. You know, those tricks that literally flip the sport on its head when they happened. That's one of them for sure.
I was screaming at the top of my lungs when I was watching that, like, oh my God, no, he's not gonna do that. He's doing it. He's on it. It's happening. Oh my God. Yeah, I was screaming.
If we had just decided to call it a day, that 50-50 never would have happened, or I don't know, what if it didn't start raining up in Marin that day? Who knows?
Fuck it, dude. This is the end. This is the last thing we're gonna film. This is the raddest. Yeah, smart. Get a little breath in there. That'll make it wetter. Oh, don't worry about it, dude. I'm telling you, that rail slide's the raddest thing you did for your whole part already. Those people are just gonna go, oh my God, it was raining. It was fully pouring when you did the rail slide too.
Oh, did you film that?
could see it. Yeah, I filmed that.
Mike Ternasky was the founder of Plan B Skateboards, the mastermind behind it. You know, he had a really incredible ability of being hard on you, but you still retained the fact that he loved you. He held you to a really high standard of what you were capable of. There was a level of accountability with him, and he was mentoring Pat in the same way. He saw the potential of Pat. For me personally, it's a really beautiful clip because you're seeing Mike with the skater. You're seeing Mike with Pat.
You can see the rain coming down. It's not like it's gonna be all, is it raining? It's gonna be like in the rain.
Me and Tobin went there and shot a sequence of it. Mike wanted that on film for the video part. So we were just warming up on board slides and it started raining. He was like, well, what do you think, man? Like, we get out of here? But I, in my head, I'm like, this dude just drove all the way from SD, stayed at my house. It was just important to me at the time because Mike had done a lot for me. My father had passed away like pretty early, and Mike was like a father figure, a friend, also a mentor. I'm like, why don't I just try it, you know?
Pat's like, fuck it. Mike T's up here. He lives in San Diego. We got the rail. I told him I wanted to do it. That's that beautiful accountability that Mike would bring out of you.
You don't even know. This makes us so much gnarlier about this rain. It's like adding another 10 stairs on.
And then I took a super heavy slam and Mike just called it. He was like,
We're
you're
done.
done. We got it. Good work. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Like, people just still come up to me to this day. Like, the backlip in the rain. I remember where I was and the fucking, you know, what I was doing. It was crazy. Wow, this came out amazing. It looks almost like a painting, kind of, dude. We got a little bit of NorCal and some SoCal in here. I'm hyped, man. It came out awesome. We can try to get you one.
What an honor. Yeah, please, I need one. Signed, personalized.
Fucking hyped.
So there you have it. Pat Duffy, questionable. Perhaps the biggest leap in skateboarding progression that we've ever seen or will ever see again.
In an alternate reality out in the multiverse, it wasn't raining.
People are skating like 9 stairs.
Right.
And I'll be back to grind and grind and grind and grind.
He skated in the rain, he did it all, dude. He didn't give a fuck. And he's still going, he's like 50. Anytime you skate in the rain in Florida, we're just like, Duffy clips, dude, Duffy.